Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is the games leaving my collection for the month of February. Good morning to all of you, or more specifically, good morning to me, because it's really early. I haven't had coffee, and I need to fix that problem. But before we fix that problem, let's talk about the games in my collection that will be leaving. As usual, disclaimer for all of this. The usual disclaimers apply if you haven't watched it before, which is I get a lot of games, I review a lot of games, I play a lot of games. Last year, I played over 350 new games, which means I cannot keep them all, which means good games leave, great games leave, games I've loved and have enjoyed and have rated well will leave. That is just the way it works with the amount of games I play. I can only afford to hold on to the games that are the absolute very best for me, and not the ones that are really good. To that end, these are the games that are going to be leaving, and there are a lot of solid games leaving this month. A lot of games that have been sticking around my collection for a bit, and a bunch that haven't been seeing play, and it's time to move on from them. This is a harder month than most. It actually started with me having only a few small games. This was the pile of games that were leaving. In general, as the month goes by, I tend to put aside the games that are leaving. Very often games I've reviewed or games I passed by on the shelf, and I'm like, you know what, I don't know if I'm playing that one again anytime soon. And this was the pile of games for February. Usually when that happens, I start going to my shelves and start doing a bit more of a critical analysis over the games currently there to see what I can afford to really pull off and get to. And with that, we have a much larger list because I decided to really get to it. Now, before we dive into it further, which I guess I already said before we dive into it before we dive into it, as usual, over on Patreon, I do give away some of these games. If you are a Patreon member, some of these games are given away over on Patreon. I'm realizing now I actually have a bunch of YouTube channel members now, and they should also get a game. So one of these games will be given away over to my YouTube channel members as well, just to spread the love and all that. So there'll be some games given away to Patreon, some games given away to YouTube channel members, and make sure to become one of those if you want to be eligible for those games. And there are two expensive games in this list. They will not be given away in those giveaways. We'll talk about those. And with that, let's go and start it off appropriately with the games I first showed you, the Stephen Rhodes Living Well series. Not Living Well, I don't know what it's called. The series. There's a series of games, including Living Well, Cryptozoology, and Exorcist. I reviewed these. I don't know if the review's actually up yet. I reviewed these. I enjoyed all of them, but they are all on the lighter side. The one that I am most compelled by is actually Exorcist. I would say Living Well was fun, but I played enough times, I'm good to go. Cryptozoology was a little bit on the lighter side. I mean, they're all on the lighter side, but it was more on the lighter side. And Exorcist, let's call the Exorcist, was my favorite one from them, but it is more of a hidden roll game, and those don't get enough play in my collection as it is, and for me, I still prefer, the Quest or One Night Ultimate Werewolf, and so I already have games that are going to be in the 4 to 8 player category, more than locked up, and so this one actually, they're all really solid in different ways, but they are all more gateway plus accessible games with taking stuff you've seen before, mechanics you've seen before, but making it very distilled and easy to absorb for, players who are jumping into these types of things for the first time. All solid. The only one I really debate keeping is, let's call it Exorcist, and again, player count is the main factor there. But then we have a sad one, and again, there's lots of sad ones in this list. It's just the nature of crawling through my actual games that I'm not playing and trying to make decisions around those. Multiple sad ones, honestly. It's going to be a hard list. But we have For Glory, which is particularly sad because I actually have the expansion on the way, and I don't think I'm keeping the base game. And this is a tough one, but I have been debating this one. For Glory is a deck-building game of gladiator arena combat. And it's one that I've been kind of mentally eyeing for the past several months as I do these videos. I kind of give it an eye. I'm like, no, I want to hold on to it. I give it an eye. I'm like, I want to hold on to it. And finally, I think I'm at the point where I haven't been playing it, and I still do want to hold on to it, but it's about those hard decisions part. You see, For Glory is an excellent two-player head-to-head. I guess there's technically a team mode, I think. I'm pretty sure. Somewhere says this 2 to 4. No, it's 2 players. Just 2 players. It's a 2-player head-to-head gladiatorial combat game, which is really solid in the deck building it gives you. The biggest problem I have with it, and the only real problem I have with it, is that it is a little bit more complicated to explain and get people up and running on it. And to that end, I find I only play it with specific people, and I have so many games that I'm trying to get played that even with those people, it's just not getting played that much. It's a really solid game. I just think I find other deck building systems not necessarily better, but a little smoother and easier to teach, and to that end, those ones are going to become, well, more dominant. And I think if you ask me, well, which one, Alex? I think the two that I usually refer to are Quest for El Dorado and Dominion. Those are still two of my favorite deck building games. I have Shards of Infinity, I have some Star Realms, I have some of these other games here and there, and then Shards of Infinity and Star Realms are primarily there just to introduce other people to those systems. But for me, ultimately, Dominion's still king, will always be king. I shouldn't say that. Dominion's still king, has always been king, and is one that really takes most of my pure deck building energy, with other games taking the offshoot energy. You know, the Endless Winter, Lost Winds of Arnak, Dune Imperium. There's so much deck building in my collection that deck building is a genre I have plenty of, and For Glory, much as I enjoy it, is unfortunately going away. From there, we have two games: The Key, Sabotage at Lucky Llama Land, and Murder at the Oakdale Club. One of these is upside down. But these are both games from Hava Games that are really solid deduction-based games. I've enjoyed playing through these, but it's also time for me to get rid of them because I haven't played through them in quite some time. Both of these games are kind of almost, they're not really escape rooms, they're deduction games. They're games in which players have a little bit of a puzzle they're trying to solve and a case going on, and as they draw cards, they're trying to figure out, okay, great, how can I piece together what's going on? It's going to have reminiscent aspects to Awkward Guess, to the Search for Planet X. It's going to have that kind of deduction element where a lot of it comes down to the cards you draw and the information you gather, and whether you can or can't deduce enough information to make educated judgment calls about the case. They're both great. They're both really solid. Ultimately, I think that I have, for me, deduction games, the ones that I like the most. I think the deduction game I currently like the most is still Tiwanuku, which I'm still waiting on. There are other deduction games that are excellent out there, and I think that the issue I have with The Key is primarily one that I play with my kids. It is a bit more kid-focused, although I believe you can totally play with adults as a focus as well. I happen to focus on a bit more with my kids, and we've played through it enough times, and it doesn't really get pulled out as much, and more often when I'm playing a game with my daughter in the genre, we do pull out a new escape room instead. So as much as I like The Key, I've gone through it enough times, and I am ready to move on. Then we'll go to one that is not quite as hard. Possibly one of this. There are a few here that are a little bit easier. They're not easy, just easier. We have Mechanical Beast, which is one that I knew when I covered this. Like I mentioned when I covered, like this is one that I didn't think was going to stick around. I covered this, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago from Sideroom Games, I believe, from Sideroom Games, Gigamech Distribution. I covered it around 3 months ago. It's a solo puzzle as the robot collapses around you and you try to manipulate rooms to try to get everyone out alive. I enjoyed the puzzle that it gave me. It was very solid, but it also took longer than I'd like to get the core puzzle off the ground. I mean, this is a game that you play it for 20 to 40 minutes, and I'd say the first half to 2/3 of that feels a bit more procedural, and only the last bit doesn't really feel like the pure engine to run out. Now, don't get me wrong. I genuinely enjoy it. I think it's great. I think it's a fun solo little puzzle that you can play with cooperatively as well. For me, I prefer it solo. It's fun little solo puzzles. You try to manage and maneuver and manipulate things. And I have a lot of games in that genre, and I think that the fact that it takes a little longer to get set up before the puzzle begins was a bit of a killer for me as far as when I'm trying to make hard decisions. It's easier to pull this one off the shelf and say, look, I have so many solo games that I'm already not getting to enough as it is. This one I'm getting to less. So Mechanical Beast, still sad. I still liked it, but not as sad as perhaps some of the others. From there, let's go ahead and go to, well, let's go to another less sad one. This is sad, but not sad at the same time. And that specifically is Blitzkrieg. And the next one's going to fall into the same category as this, by the way. Sad and yet not sad, although sadder. Blitzkrieg, to me, is sad and yet not sad. It's sad because Blitzkrieg is one of my favorite games once upon a time. It's not sad because I just prefer Caesar. I literally just prefer Caesar. I think Caesar is just straight up a better game than Blitzkrieg. It occurs to me now that I'm saying this, as I have a filmed Play This Not That between Blitzkrieg and Caesar, but I don't know if it went up yet. I should probably make sure that goes up before this video so you don't get spoiled. But either way, Blitzkrieg versus Caesar. They're both fantastic games, but to me, I straight prefer Caesar. There's no situation in which I have wanted to play Blitzkrieg since I've played Caesar. Every time I play Blitzkrieg nowadays, I'm like, that's okay. I'd rather be playing Caesar. They're the same core engine from PSC Games, from Paolo Mori. There's actually a third one coming out, Dogfight, I want to say, like, you know, a plane battling system. And I haven't played that one, so I don't know anything about that. But I can tell you that between Blitzkrieg and Caesar, whenever I play Blitzkrieg now, the only thought I have is I'd rather be playing Caesar. Straight up. Not a question, not a debate. I would rather be playing Caesar. It is not nuanced. It is not conversational. It is not a debate about the moment, the time, the feeling. It is always, I would rather be playing Caesar since I have played those two games. Blitzkrieg's still good. I still recommend it. I still think it's excellent. And I know people who think that there's reason to own both, or I know people who prefer Blitzkrieg. For me, it's just not even close. I'd rather be playing Caesar. Next up, we have another one that kind of got replaced over time, although this one a little bit more subtly, which is why it's a little harder. We have Battle Line Medieval from Reina Knizia. I like Battleline a lot. It's one of the first games I got into when I got into the hobby, and it's a game that has stuck with me for quite some time. It's one of those Wayne Knizia titles that has managed to last a long, long time. It's because it's such an elegant lane battling system of playing cards. You're playing these cards back and forth between a bunch of lanes, 9 flags effectively, trying to win the flags, and it's all about the unknown. You're trying to play cards for certain patterns, but as soon as you commit to a pattern, you are also committing to your maximum potential, which allows the players to mess you over. It is a great game that has been mostly directly replaced by one specific game, which is why it's easy enough not easy for it to go. It's been replaced by Critters at War, Airland and Sea from Arcane Wonders. To me, Airland and Sea is the exact same mental puzzle of trying to play things 2 different lanes, but with more elegance, plays faster, and with a bluffing and pullback system that makes it straight up better. Now, they're not directly comparable to the same degree that Blitzkrieg and Caesar are for me, but I find that as much as I do enjoy Battleline, as much as it's hard, like I held this in my hands for like 4 or 5 minutes trying to think through, am I ready to get rid of it? Am I not? I don't know yet. And then when I thought of the fact that I just don't think this is a situation in which I'd rather play this over Airland and Sea, that kind of did it for me. It's not that it's not good, it's that I have a bunch of lane battling systems, and I've slowly gotten rid of them as I try to keep the games that are getting played or the ones that are most likely to get played. And for me, Battleline is excellent, Battleline is great, Battleline Medieval is a newer art version of it, but Airland and Sea is just better. Like, I have 2 versions of Airland and Sea. I have the new one, and I have both Critters at War, but I have the expansion, and then the standalone expansion, and then the base game. I'd rather have both of those. They're just more elegant at what it's doing. Next up, we have an easy ones list, another one that I kind of expected to leave at some point, just hadn't yet, which is Boop. Boop from Smirk and Laughter Games is a fun, abstract game that I very much enjoyed the puzzle of booping cats onto a map as you try to slowly maneuver as far as what the most efficient way to line up your cats into a row of 3 is. It is a fun little puzzle, and it's done very well. It's got a cute little theme to it, got cute little adorable cats in it. It's adorable. It's very cute. I also find the strategy to me feels a bit more vague when I'm playing through it. It's not as obvious or clear as far as how I can create a set sequence or patterns, and it feels like it is a bit more cute than a bit more strategic. For me, I like abstract games a lot, but there are other abstract games I prefer more. And when I covered Boop, I said I'm going to hold on to it for a bit, but I didn't think it would stick around for a while. I didn't know how long it would or wouldn't stick around. We've played it a few more times since then, but when I think of the abstract games that I adore pulling out and playing, Santorini, Tak, Ragnarok, when I think of those games, Yinch, Tsar, Mythic Mischief, when I think of the games I'd love to pull out on a table in the abstract genre category, Boop doesn't fall into that list. Then we go back up to harder ones, which in particular, a very, very hard one for me, was Honeybuzz. Honeybuzz is excellent. I love this game. Like, really genuinely love it. It's got worker placement with like a cute little theme, got a ton of ways to build out your engine. Very, very, very rewarding game that I happen to be getting rid of because it doesn't get tabled or played. People in my group don't ask for it. They enjoy it. They're fine with it. This is another Merchant's Cove all over again, which is actually a different company. I was like, is it the same company? No, it's not. The Final Frontier and Elf Creek Games. But to me, Merchant's Cove was a game that I really enjoyed, but didn't get tabled in my game group. It wasn't their priority. And I don't push games on them that they're not enjoying. There's so many games we both enjoy, and there's no reason to do that. For me, I really like Honeybuzz. I really do. I'm pretty sure I have the expansion coming. Oh boy. Do I put it back? This is one where the expansion could... I don't know. This one might go back. I'm putting this back on the list right now. This is not leaving yet. This is one where the expansion is enough for me to say I'm holding on to it. We're going to give that one a bit. Let's hold off. Next one. Moving on to Bonfire. Bonfire from Stefan Feld. Now, I love Stefan Feld. I love Stefan Feld games. I love Bonfire. It's a 4 to 5 for me. And you're like, you're getting rid of a 4 to 5? Yes, because I have multiple Stefan Feld games that are 4.5s or higher. I have the Castle of Burgundy. I have Bruges. I have the Oracle of Delphi. I have, I have Marigot. I have Bora Bora. I have a bunch of other. I have Marrakesh, which I just got. I need to play Marrakesh. Oh my gosh. I have a lot of Stefan Feld games. And I'm always interested in anything he does and anything he designs, and I haven't played a Stefan Feld game that I have not enjoyed. I think the worst one for me was probably Aquaretto, no. Aquatica, what was the Aqua one? There's like an underwater one, like you're in a Aquasphere. Aquasphere is probably my least favorite Stefan Feld game, and even that was like a 3.5 out of 5. And most of them I enjoy a lot. Most of the ones I've played from him are a 4 or higher. I love his designs, I love his approach, I love his point saladius, and Bonfire was a solid 4 to 5 that I really enjoyed. And I played it a few more times, and I continue to enjoy it, and I just, it's not going up for me. Now, this is one where there is an expansion, and I have been debating whether I get the expansion first or not. But I don't know. I don't feel the need to, is what I'd say. I'm not against it, but I just don't feel the need to seek it out. For me, Bonfire is a great game, and Bora Bora and Castle Burgundy and Bruges and all the ones I mentioned already are better games in the genre. The expansion could elevate it. This has happened to me before. I remember Lorenzo Magnifico as a 4, which is a great, but again, in the Euro games I find I need a 4.5 and above. In Ameritrash, in Euro, in Area Control, there's certain genres that I have such good games that I need the best of the best. And for me, Lorenzo Magnifico is a game that I got rid of, and then I got it back because of the expansion, and the expansion has solidified it for me. The expansion has really cemented its place in my collection. That might hold up for the Bonfire expansion too, but I just haven't gotten it yet, and I'm not in a rush to specifically seek it out just to see if it's testing it out. I guess the difference between the Bonfire expansion and the Lorenzo Magnifico expansion is the Lorenzo Magnifico expansion I heard did great things for the base game, and the Bonfire expansion I haven't heard much about. So I'm just not in a rush yet. But hey, if I happen to play the expansion, maybe I'll get the base game back. Who knows? I do have some upgraded premium bits in here, so ultimately time will tell. We'll see on that one. But yeah, Bonfire, a great game. Highly recommend it. Also, I have a lot of games in his collection, and I prefer a bunch of those otherwise. But then we get rid of another one that I also wondered how long it would last, and this is Eco's First Continent by John D. Clare and AEG. I like this game. I reviewed it a while ago, and I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 3.5 out of 4. Out of 5, not out of 4. 3.5 out of 5. And I said at the time that it's kind of almost a guilty pleasure game. The system is all about playing cards to an ecosystem as you build an ecosystem, and I really enjoy the process of it, building it out, while also recognizing that I don't think the mechanics are amazing. I just enjoy the process of building out the ecosystem, and I enjoy what's going on in the system. So overall, I really like Eco's First Continent. Also, it hasn't been played in like 8 months, and I'm not as compelled to pull it out. I enjoy it. I have a good time with it. But there are plenty of games I have a good time with. And right now, I'd rather pull out games like Keystone, or I don't even know. I don't know. I just picked Keystone ambiently, but no, Keystone. It's got a little bit of a nature theme. Sure, let's go with Keystone. I'd rather pull out games like Keystone. So Keystone North America, for the record. This is Eco's First Continent, so not North America. I think there are a lot of great games that bring me joy, and Eco's First Continent was one of those games for quite some time. I played the base game, I played the expansion, I've liked it a lot, and it's a very fun experience, but not the best experience, which is why ultimately it is finally leaving, only when prompted under duress, by the way. Nearly all of these are under duress, just for the record. The duress of my own self wanting to keep a lean collection. I did the math on this after doing this particular weeding. I have around 250 games in my collection, in terms of the games I hold on to and keep, not the games that are rotating for review. Games that are rotating around for review, I don't count until they actually are, played. And 250 games is a lot of games, don't get me wrong, it's a lot, but I progressively I've always managed to keep that number under certain numbers and in check, and I've always managed to weed it down as much as possible. Despite the amount of games I play, I try to hold on to only the ones that are the best of the best for me, and that means a lot of rotation. It means a lot of games that I enjoy but don't keep. I like playing the games I love. And to me, when I look at a game like Ecos, if I could rather be playing Keystone North America, I'd rather be playing Keystone North America. At least for now, until we find the next one that replaces Keystone North America. These games do rotate. I should probably do a video at some point, like, I don't know, 10 games that will never leave my collection. I think I did do that video. And even in that video, I was like, there's no such thing as never. I'll link down below. The 10 games that will never, ever leave my collection, maybe. I think I called it that, because I refuse to commit to it. I still think those 10 games are still here, for the record. In any case, moving on to a slightly easier one. This is one that's hard, but for different reasons. We have Trudvang Legends. Trudvang Legends is one of the 2 games that is not eligible for being given away, because I'm trying to sell this along with my whole all-in pledge that I have coming, and I'll shift up the address for that. But this one, come on, games. I have a whole all-in pledge coming for this game. If you're interested, email me. We'll figure it out. We have a child upstairs. I'm filming, bud. Rafiki, I'm filming. We have a child upstairs, so we'll see what happens. Anyways, Trudvang Legends is a very enjoyable experience that isn't enjoyable enough for me to hold on to the amount of boxes and content I have coming for this game. That's ultimately what it comes down to. And also, I like other game systems more that do something similar. The direct comparison I had when I played through this was Roleplay Adventures. I like Roleplay Adventures a lot. And also even Skyrim. Like, there's even game, I don't know, there's a bunch of games out there that give you that exploration, that give you the fighting, that give you or the Isofaring Guard for the bag building. There are a lot of game systems out there in different ways that do different things, and they all have different reasons to enjoy them. I would say that adventure-wise, Trudvang Legends felt like an inferior Roleplay Adventures, and bag-building-wise, Trudvang Legends felt like an inferior Isofaring Guard. Now, make no mistake, both those games I have complaints about. I have complaints against Roleplay Adventures, I have complaints against Isofaring Guards, but I have more complaints against Trudvang Legends. It was good, but the combat got so dry and so cyclical so quickly, and it iterated so slowly that it was a very easy game for me to say, you know what, I don't need to continue playing through this. And the story wasn't good enough. It was good. I was okay with the story, but the story wasn't good enough for me to continue to hold on to it for the sake of the story. And so ultimately, it's good. I like it. But it also is a game that I can afford to let go. It is a game that I can sit there and say without worrying about it, it's fine, it's ready to move on. The only reason it's here now as opposed to like 3-4 months ago is I actually shipped my copy to Jeremy Howard so he can cover it. He wanted to try it out. And so it wasn't in the Games Leaving the Collection video that month. It's stuck around just because I've been waiting for it to come back, and now it's back, and now it's leaving again. This time to actually properly leave and not to be lent out. But yeah, Trudvang Legends. It's good. I thoroughly, genuinely enjoyed it. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I like it. A 3.5 out of 5 is not good enough when you're talking about a game that is this expensive and is this much of a commitment in time and has that much going on. So, good game, great game, solid game. Try the base game sometime if you have a chance. Maybe you'll like it more than I did. And again, I liked it, but we'll see. Next up, we have another hard one. This one was fairly hard to do. This is Paleo. And Paleo is a game I've really enjoyed. I gave it a 4 to 5. Another one. Like, again, there's lots of 4 to 5s leading here today. In fact, 4 to 5 is the key 4 to 5. For Glory 4 to 5. Blitzkrieg, hard to say because it might even be higher at one point, but probably now in comparison to others, it's a 4 to 5. A Mechanical Beast was a 3.5. Battle Line 4 to 5. These were a bunch of easier ones. Honeybuzz was a 4.5. But we're going to wait on the expansion for that. Boop, I knew I'd get rid of at some point. Bonfire 4 to 5. Ecos a 3.5 that I really enjoy. Trudvang a 3.5 that I really enjoy. And Paleo a 4 out of 5 that is leaving because I've played through it enough and had 1 or 2 more mediocre plays that despite myself really enjoying this and having upgraded bits and everything, I think I'm fine to get rid of it for now. When I say for now, I meant now. Paleo is a game of trying to build a story together as you go through it. It's got a bit of a emergent storytelling. You're basically telling a story as you go through these scenarios, but mixing up decks of cards and trying to figure out how to combine, how to work together to achieve the specific goals on the cards. The reason it's leaving is twofold. One is, as I've played more and more modules, I have found that the core experience doesn't feel meaningfully different. It feels different, but not meaningfully different. And to that end, I don't feel I need to go through all the modules to finish playing through it. I've played through maybe 4 or 5 modules, maybe 6, I have to double check. And I've enjoyed the modules as I've gone through them, and I've had fun with the different spins they put on things, but the core puzzle is the same. The core playing of cards is the same. The core sense of survival is the same. There's just nuances around small differences in the ways that it feels. I like it though. I like it a lot. But you combine the fact that the game hasn't really evolved as much as I'd like for me, combined with the fact that I've had 1 or 2 plays that were more of a miss for me, where it just didn't feel rewarding. Something about the play felt off, and the whole puzzle just didn't feel just quite as good, and I find myself less in a rush to pull it off the shelf. That happens to me a lot when I have mediocre plays in games. When I'm looking at a game and I'm like, hey, I could play through, I don't know, The Loop, which I've enjoyed every single time I've played it. Or I can play through Paleo, which I've enjoyed 80% of the time I've played it, and I've had 2 plays that were really a bust. That kind of situation I find does pull me a lot out of a game. I've gotten rid of a bunch of games over the years that have had those mixed play experiences because I'd rather just play something that I know will be good than something that has me wondering whether it will or won't be a great play. Paleo is good. I think it's great. There's a part of me that's sad that I'm getting rid of it before the expansion, but again, decisions have to be made in life, and there are too many games at any given point, and too many games to get caught up on and play, both from the games I love, as well as from the games I haven't played, as well as the games I need to review, and so Paleo, like many others in this video, is slowly going away. Well, not slowly going away, it's going away. Then we have another one that is a big box, expensive experience. This is another one that will not be given away because of just how out of print and expensive this one is. This is Forbidden Stars. Forbidden Stars is excellent. Also, Kevin, if you're watching this video, really genuinely email me. This is yours. This is yours if you want it. Kevin, for those who don't know, Kevin's a supporter of the channel he's a Patreon and I think it's Patreon, but he's definitely gives plenty of otherwise. But he is a delightful human being who has bought me my Tracy Crokinole board, which I really strongly appreciate. It's hard to justify it because I already had a Crokinole board and I wanted the Tracy one. But Kevin is a prince, and Kevin, doing one live stream, mentioned that he wanted to play Forbidden Stars, and I was like, this is yours if you want it, just email me. I'll email you too, maybe, if I remember. But Forbidden Stars is an excellent game from Fantasy Flight that is out of print. It's a redone version of oh my gosh, Star, who's gonna bother me? We had World of Warcraft and StarCraft was the original game Fantasy Flight that they lost the license to, and so they remade it with Forbidden Stars, which they lost the license to that, and so they haven't remade it since, although there's a decent chance they'll remake it at some point with their own IP, I'm assuming. It just that's what they do with their games. So either something, you know, Cthulhu-based, or alternatively something, ooh, Cthulhu Wars in Space. That could work. Don't call it Cthulhu Wars. I think someone else has that name. Anyways, Forbidden Stars is an excellent game. And it's an excellent game that I have liked a lot when I've played it, and then I finally had to play recently at Devin Norris, Devin Talks Tabletop, with Devin, Meg, and myself. We played through it, and it kind of was both an incredibly good experience, cementing how much I like the game, and also cementing my my lack of a need for the game system, my willingness to get rid of it. And that was cemented because of the fact that as much as I enjoyed it, I found that, and this is something I knew from the very beginning, but I found that the continued waiting on other people's turns doing combat, I just wasn't involved. And it's a game that gives me incredible tactical combat, lots of deck building, lots of empire building, a very rewarding situation to go through, just a really solid banger of a game that doing your turns in your combat, I might as well pull out my phone and figure out something else to do because it's that long and drawn out and I'm just a bystander in the process. And that's such a killer of a game. It's a killer of a thing when you figure out that you have so many other games that don't give you that problem. You have Cyclades, you have Rurik, you have Blood Rage, you have Inish, and now recently, and this is what part of the reason this is easier for me to get rid of finally now, is I also now have DEI, Divide et Impera, from Ludus Magnus Studios. That is a game system I have been loving. I've been loving DEI. And they're not comparable. To be very clear, they're not comparable, but they all fall in that area control genre, and I have so many area control games that I don't hesitate to play, that I want to table, that I'm just excited and I have no qualms and no debates and no hesitancies on. And then I have Forbidden Stars that I'm like, it's so great! Also, I'm going to bring a phone and a rulebook with me so that I can be distracted on other people's turns. It's a great system. It really genuinely is. If Fantasy Flight puts out a redone version of it, I will be checking it out immediately to see what changes they've made, whether they've improved upon that, whether they could. Maybe you can't improve upon it without sacrificing the core gameplay. I don't know. I think Forbidden Stars is fantastic. I think it's incredible. And I think I have other area control games that I don't have the same hesitancy over when I'm playing them. Which brings us to one last game on the table, and this one's a little bit of a harder one because this is one that I really wish I had played before getting rid of it. But this is Claustrophobia 1643. This is sad. I've read the rules for this multiple times. I've actually need to make sure the rulebook is in this before I get rid of it. I've read the rulebooks for this multiple times, and I've wanted to table this multiple times. And this is one that I've heard so many things about the original, I've heard so many things about the new version of it, and I just haven't played it. And I just don't know if or when that will happen. It's one of those games that's been behind me on the shelf. It's been above my Expeditions Minions, which has now been replaced by Hoplomachus Remastered. But it's been behind me on the shelf above me. It's been behind me on the shelf above me. Yeah, that works. I'm sad about this game. I'm generally more sad whenever I'm getting rid of a game that I haven't played. But it's a longer two-player head-to-head experience, and I have so many of those that I know I love. I don't know if I need to dive into this one. It's an asymmetric two-player dungeon crawler, with one player controlling the forces of darkness and one player controlling the heroes. That's very compelling. And one day I'll play it. And maybe I'll love it, and I'll spend time hunting this down and trying to reacquire it, and I'm okay with that. In general, when I get rid of games, the one thing I've always said is I don't want to keep games because, well, what if I want it back one day? Then get it back one day. I get rid of a lot of games, and maybe 1 in 20, 1 in 30 I actually get back. So many games cycle through, I can't hold on to them all with the, what if I want it back? Sure, that does happen. Bora Bora is a Stefan Feld game that I mentioned earlier in this video that I got rid of and got back. Sometimes it happens. There are games, Evadel is a game that Raja the Ganges, those are both games that I loved and got rid of and got back. Well, I got rid of them before I realized I loved them. That was a mistake, actually. A different comparison. There are a lot of games out there. There always will be a lot of games out there. I don't get rid of games I haven't played casually. But I do get rid of them when I realize that they're probably not getting played anytime soon. And it makes me a little sad. I want to play this. But I'll keep telling myself, you know what? One day, at a convention somewhere, going to more conventions these days, playing games at conventions, and so I'll play it. One day, at a convention, somewhere. We'll figure it out. But Claustrophobia 1643 is the last one to go in this video. A lot of heavy hitters. Again, this list started with just, the Stephen Rhodes collection over here. That's all I had for the month of February. Maybe more. Maybe I'll have more in March. I don't know. I think in January I did that whole thing where I just got rid of all the games, whether or not I had reviewed them yet officially, but like anything I'd filmed and decided on. And so I think that made February a little lighter in terms of the games department because I had done a large, just done over with purge. But that just means we have more time to focus on what really needs to stay in my collection. For the record, there's still 2 or 3 that I'm eyeing that I pushed off for this video. So March will have at least 2 or 3. How much more than that, we'll figure it out. In any case, that's this video. These are the games I'm getting rid of in February. It's a harder month than usual. There's a lot of things that I really enjoy here, and not just games that I reviewed and I'm ready to move on from. But I don't know if there's anything that I regret. Looking at these games, there's very few that I regret. There's much I'm sad about, but very few that I regret. The only one I did was Honey Buzz, which I took off the table because I do want to try the expansion first. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.